Hello friends, and it's Funky Play Brothers, and please remember to subscribe to YouTube. And I am reading He-Man and the Master of the Universe, Tales of Eternia, A Hunt for Mossman, Book 1, New York Times best-selling author Gregory Mann, a Netflix animated series, Chapter 18. Now let's just read it. The restaurant was packed full of boisterous, red-faced men and women, all singing, fighting, and dancing. The more civilized ones among them crowded about rickety tables, playing cards. Food and drinks were spilled and splashing everywhere. A half-filled silver mug crashed into Adam's shoulder, soaking half of his vest. The woman turned back and waved him onward. "Ignore them," she said. "They're all harmless." "Sure," Adam muttered, "totally harmless." At the far end of the crowded room, the giant hostess opened a heavy wooden door with a huge iron clasp for a handle, then led him down a hallway and through another door into a darkened room. "Wait in here," she said, pushing Adam inside. There was some very comfortable chairs in the middle of the room. "Have a seat and relax. I'll be back with your friends in a minute." When the heavy door slammed shut, the space turned as dark as a snake mountain crypt. Adam couldn't even see the walls or the ceiling, yet it felt like a large room, as cavernous as one of the great halls of Castle Grayskull. The only sounds were the muffled voices and roars from the bar. Adam decided he'd feel much better about the whole situation if he turned into He-Man, but he didn't want to draw any unnecessary attention. Carefully, he crept forward, holding his hands out in front of him. Where were those chairs she was talking about? Suddenly he heard a loud clang, the sound of change moving. Something gigantic and heavy dropped down around him. The floor shook from the force intensely. Adam reached for the sword, but powerful hands grabbed him by the back and his vest and slammed him against heavy iron bars. And the sword was gone. Stunned, Adam turned and reached out. Everywhere he turned, he bumped up against iron bars. His host began laughing. "Well, that was easier than I thought." "What are you doing?" Adam said. "Give me back my sword." The woman struck a match and lit a huge torch. The light revealed that his situation was bad, as he imagined. Adam hadn't just lost the sword of power. He was trapped inside a massive cage. He-Man could have bent the bars aside. Ram-Man might have been able to crash her way in, and Battle-Cat's claws would have sliced straight through the metal, but his friends weren't there to help him. Adam was powerless. He watched the woman as she circled the room. Her face was crossed to the far wall and swung open a set of tall wooden shutters. Sunlight streamed inside, revealing the glass display cases of varying sizes. Inside there were bony remains of birds, fish, and other kinds of creatures, including what looked like a young dragon. Apparently his hostess had an unsettling fondness for skeletons. "Why, in the name of Randor, would I give you back your sword?" she asked, if I'm guessing correctly. "This is that magical sword I've heard rumors about. How a little runt like you ended up with it, it's beyond me. But I imagine that this lovely weapon will fetch quite a reward from that handsome new tyrant." Now she was planning to give it to Skeletor. Seriously? This was beyond bad. This was a multi-dimensional disaster. Plus, she thought Skeletor was handsome. That was more frightening than anything else. "I could pay you instead," Adam suggested. She turned the sword upside down and rested the tip of the sword on her hand of the bronze handle. "Pay me what?" she asked. Adam was surprised how much it bothered him to see someone else holding the sword of power. On one level, he was annoyed the weapon belonged to him, and no one else. Not Skeletor, and certainly not this woman, but another part of him was just plain devastated. He'd been entrusted with the weapon by Castle Grayskull itself. Now some ruffian restaurateur was going to give it back to Skeletor. So much for defending the planet. Adam couldn't even defend himself as for paying the woman. Well, that was tricky technically. Adam was the price of Eternos, but he didn't actually have any money himself. Plus his dad wasn't even on the throne anymore. "I'm going to be honest with you," he said. "I don't have any money. but I really need that sword. I need to find Mossman. Was he here? Yes, he was here, right inside that very cage. In fact, he'd been planning to sail away when I promised him I could arrange a much better trip to far more interesting lands, so he agreed to follow me. I always know that an adventure when I spot one, and I'm pretty good at picking out the gullible folks too. I was hoping to add him to my collection, and he was very disappointed when he found out I was lying about the promised trip. He slipped through the traps that the willy weed. She ran the sword along the bars and clangs of metal and carbonite against iron was surprisingly dull. Desperately, Adam reached out to grab the blade, but she yanked it back. Then her eyes brightened. I had a fantastic idea. I believe we can make an arrangement that satisfies us both. What do you mean? Adam asked. My collection here includes specimens of some of the rarest species of eternia. That one there, for example, she pointed at the odd winged skeleton, is the remains of a wolf bat from the Banshee jungle. Very few of those in existence, but a Florian? That would be crown jewel, so she leaned toward smiling. Adam felt an unsettling chill. Yes. If I release you and you capture the Florian for me, her voice changed, adopting an almost friendly tone, I'll give you back your sword. Adam gripped the iron bars. He gritted his teeth. No, he snapped. No creature deserves to be trapped in one of your cages. No deal then? No deal. Eugenia shrugged her huge shoulders, then reached into one of her pockets, removed a handheld communicator, and held it up to her ear. Oh, well, then I suppose I'll call the palace. Does this skeleton fellow like swords? I've heard he's more of a staff and scepter type. He'll love this one, though. It's so unique. Adam thought of his friends outside waiting for him. They'd come looking for him soon. But if you don't give me back that sword, Adam warned her, my two friends are going to take it from you. The girl and the overgrown kitten. Eugenia replied, I think my men and I will manage just fine against them. Now, I've wasted far too much time with you already, young man. Thank you for the sword. If you behave, I'll release you in the morning. Adam leaned to get back against the bars of the cage and slid down to the floor. He was trying not to abandon hope when he heard the slow, careful creak of a window opening. Squinting, he bolted upright and spotted what looked like a vine snaking into the room. The vine was as thick as one of his arms and covered with leaves and patches of bright moss. He curved left and right as it crossed the floor as if searching for something. When the vine reached the iron bars of his cage, it curled and snaked up around them. When it seemed to thicken and strengthen before tilting the cage onto its side, opening a gap between the base on the floor. Adam wasted no time. He rolled down out of his iron prison, then watched as the vine retracted toward the open window. He glanced back at the door. Eugenia had gone that way with the sword of power. He desperately needed it back, but he suspected that this strange vine wasn't just some magical root. He had a feeling he'd finally found Krenet, and he wasn't wasting about to let him get away. That is the end of chapter 18. So, friends, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow us on our social media as Funky Play Brothers and Funky Play Bros. Support our vlog at cashapp with the $sign Funky Play Brothers. Thanks for watching. Bye.